Alrighty, how's everybody doing today? Welcome to Leadership as a Philosophy Not a Checklist video discussion 11, and this is going to be on Simon Sinek. Now, I know it says video discussion. This was supposed to be video discussions, but he's also written a bunch of books, and there's a whole thing that I figured out, so we're just going to call it a video discussion, even though there's no videos. I'm sure that makes sense. This is a little bit of a different intro. I know my ad hoc studio base is run on sunlight mostly, and it's completely overcast, so I'm improvising. One of the things I wanted to say, complete truth in lending, is I found out about Simon Sinek about 2013, I think, 2014. He had done a video talking about how to lead millennials, and everybody was all ranting and raving about this thing, and I thought that was stupid because there's no difference between leading a millennial and leading anybody. You have to find out what motivates them, find out who they are, find out what they're looking for, try to align their goals with yours, achieve the goal. That's it. It's never changed in thousands of years, right? You have to do it the same with everybody. But at the end of the video, he said, maybe it's not the millennials, it's the problem, maybe you're the problem. I said, aha, perfect. And then he also wrote a book called Start With Why. And when I read it, I thought, well, okay, that's partly right. And then he came out with a whole series of videos about leaders eat last, which I knew from being in the military that that's the way it is. And I read that and I was like, okay, that's partly right too. And honest, truth in lending, I sort of discounted him because I felt like he was missing a bunch of stuff. Now, this was back when the book came out, and then obviously, over the past few years, I've done a lot of thinking about this, and I realized what he's missing. So I was going to do a thing on one of his videos, and then when I was doing my research, found out about another video that he had done, and now he's come out with another book called The Infinite Game. And so he's clearly a thinker, and he's clearly on his journey. I just think he's missing the one thing, and hopefully we're going to expose that. Now, Simon Sinek is immensely famous. He's super generous, super humble, does a lot of stuff for free. He's still never going to see this video, right? But the thing that frustrated me about watching some of his videos is I watched a bunch of them, and it didn't seem like anybody was having a discussion. They were just doing an interview. Because I think that, well, I'm almost positive that Simon Sinek is the sort of person that would love to have a good, long, knockdown, drag-out discussion, not just let me ask you your thoughts. And so, hopefully at the end of this, we will expose or discover what it is that he's missing. Now, I say that with all humility because he's written 3 books. He's got a bunch of bazillion views of all of his interviews and stuff on the internet. He started his own company. He's done a bunch of amazing stuff. Clearly, there's a need for what he's trying to do. So I'm not in any way discounting. This is just like the same idea with Jocko Willink and Leif Babin. They keep writing books that are an iteration because they haven't found the solution yet. And I think that Simon Sinek's going the same way because his books are on the same arc or have the same journey. So anyway, that's enough of the intro. Now we'll go right to the PowerPoint part, and just one slide today, and hopefully this will illuminate some stuff and, take the time to go watch some of his videos. Anyway, enough of that, and on to the PowerPoint. Alrighty, so here we go, and we'll just get right into it. So, first book Simon Sinek wrote, Start With Why. Now, a bunch of interesting things. First thing is, I had not seen him say that until I found a video just recently when I was going through doing my research, where he quite rightly says, I am absolutely not the originator of these ideas. They've been around for a long time. I'm just encapsulating them differently. So that's just an amazing thing from the jump, which is true. He's packaged them nicely. But what did we say all the way back during the original setup in the original series, or the hypothesis? The philosophers of old have talked about this a whole lot. So Nietzsche, he who has a why can bear any how, right? If you can explain to somebody why they need to suffer, they'll suffer. If you can explain to people why they have to do something, they'll go do it. Now that's at an organizational level. This book talks more about find your why, find what you're passionate about, find what you're willing to drive for and what you're wanting to do so that your life isn't miserable. And I agree. Now, one of the things that we talk about several times is making sure that you're attenuating or attuning competence and environmental hierarchies in pursuit of the goal. Well, how do you do that? Well, here's the goal. You go find the people that are the most competent, and then you figure out a way to attract them to your cause by finding out what their why is. Their why may not be to have this great job. Their why may be, I got to get a college fund for my kid. I got to do this. I got to do that. Okay, well, how can we do this so that you're the least miserable here at work, right? Now, what else is important about start with why? Well, if you have why, then you have a goal. Then you have your passion. Then you have your objective. So what's going to help you achieve that objective? Well, integrity, because you say it a lot of times. I think I've said it in another video that resources follow priorities. So you can tell what somebody's priority really is by what they're doing. So if your why is X and you keep doing Q, you're not going to X, right? You're not going to get there. What your goal obviously is Q. So maybe you find out that somebody's not aligned with the organization. Okay. But that's vigilance, right? That's also empathy. Maybe you find out that the people that you have around you could care less about the why of the organization. Well, then you probably need to get different people. No knock on the employees, right? There's no knock on them because sometimes it just doesn't happen. And so, starting with why, find your pat, blah, blah, blah. You'll do something if there's a good why. He who has a why can bear any how. Same thing with your company. Same thing with your organization. Now, here's the difference. Or here's the pitfall or the thing to worry about in an organization, right? What if your why is to make as much money as possible? Well, then what are you going to do to make as much money as possible? Are you going to be able to make as much money as possible with integrity and empathy and humility? And then pay attention to make sure you're not breaking the law? Look at what happened with the financial crisis. A whole bunch of people wanted to make all the money they could possibly make and destroyed people's lives. Right? So start with why. Great. You inspire other people by having a why that makes sense. Well, yes, it's true. But at the same time, you have to make sure that the people who are working there, their version of what they're trying to get done applies to that. And, maybe it's a stretch. Maybe you have somebody, I want to go get a master's degree in accounting. Oh, cool. Well, we're going to make you a clerk here at the store. And they sit there, what does this have to do with accounting? Well, you're going to understand exactly how the money works. Doesn't get it. Okay, it's fine. So here he's talking about, you got to have a why. Clearly, this is true. Well, then what's his next book? And like I said, just like with Jocko Willink, this isn't the answer. The why isn't the answer. So then what's the next one? Well, leaders eat last. Cool. Now, in the military, the joke is, or the phrase was, why do the officers eat last? Well, there's three. Why does the senior person around eat last? First one is because the senior person is usually not the most important person. People that are doing all the work and all the fighting are the ones that need their food. The third reason is you're going to know how good your food planning was if there's food left for the boss. So if you didn't plan your food right, you're the one going hungry, so nobody else has to suffer. That's awesome, right? And then the other thing is it's sort of symbolic, but it also is that important. There were times, I was in the Army, where I was the big boss and there wasn't food left, or it was super cold outside, everybody was freezing, and I thought that it was more important that everybody else got hot food, and I just went and had an MRE. Not because I was trying to be modeling or any of this sort of stuff, but hot food raises people's morale quite a bit. And since I was voluntarily not doing it, it didn't affect me. But the last thing that I want is somebody who's over there shivering, and there's 2 servings of soup left, and somebody's still shivering. I'm going to make them better. I'll suck it up. But what does that do? Well, it's symbolic, but it's really the truth, right? So you're going to be humble. It's showing that you're the least important person in your organization, or you're equally as important as everybody else, right? It's nobody's lesser. Vigilance. So like we talked about, did you plan enough for your food? And then it takes integrity to do that too. Oh man, I really like the little, we called them lickies and chewies. I like the little, there's one left, one brownie left, but I don't get to go yet. I'm going to go. No, plan better next time. And then empathy, you know what it's like to go hungry. You know what it's like to have to miss a meal. You know what it's like to have to go through that. But then you apply that to everything in an organization, right? Who gets all of the cool, shiny stuff, right? Hey, we got some brand new thing, and here's this gift to all of your team. And so who takes the gifts? Well, in an organization that's functioning with leaders eat last, all of the worker bees get first crack at the cool rewards. All the people doing the heavy lifting are the ones that get the first crack. You walk into an organization and it says, oh, the big boss has sent down these little rewards for everybody, and only the leadership has them. That organization is dysfunctional, right? I had an example where I used to work before, where we would get all these little trinkets all the time, and I would just pass them out. I would either keep them as rewards, so I would, somebody do something exceptional, I'd hand it out, or it was, who wants these? So one time this came in, and there was only 2. And I thought it was the coolest thing. And I said, oh man, I really want one of those. But I'm going to offer them up to the team. So I walked out and I was holding it like this. And somebody said, oh, that's like your favorite thing. And I said, yeah. They said, well, that's cool because I don't know anybody that wants it because it's the stupidest thing. And I went, so I can have one? Yes. But I offered it to everybody, even though that was the thing. And they just thought that was the funniest thing ever. Because it's a stupid little trinket. And I was excited that I finally got one. But everybody else, you go and hand them out all the trinkets, and they've got them and they're displaying them, and it was awesome. So here you go. Here's what you need to be a leader. You got to have a goal, right? So he's on the journey, right? If you look at it, this is all building on each other, but what are we still missing? Because you can have a good character and not necessarily be a leader. Just because you can go explain to somebody, what the why is, still doesn't mean that you have the thing. So what's the third book that he comes out with? The Infinite Game. So this is great. So Infinite Game just came out a couple years ago. So you can see across several iterations of what's going on with the organization. Hey, I want this to happen. We need this to do this. We need, and some things may change along the way, but we're going to adapt. We're going to do that sort of stuff. We're not looking for absolute perfection for this one thing, because he talks about it. You go and win a finite game and put all of your resources into it, then you've won. What happens next? Right? Okay, we've achieved our pinnacle goal. Well, now how are you going to motivate everybody to keep going? So maybe the goal shouldn't be to win this one thing. I want to be the best at this one thing. And then you make it. Now what? Right? And then the other thing is that if you're trying to, and there's a lot of some stuff that Jordan Peterson talks about with this, with being able to play the game so it's good for you, it's good for your group, it's good for the hierarchy, it's good for the organization, right? And you can play it more than once so that you're not crushing people's souls. That's a game that you're going to want to keep playing. And it's easier to play, and it's more rewarding. And it's more beneficial because people are growing and all that sort of stuff. If you have a finite game, then you're going to cut a whole bunch of corners to achieve that one thing. And you might destroy everything else as a result of that. I know a company, this happened this last year. They had even during the whole Corona thing, which, they had super high revenue, super high numbers. Their stock price was the highest it's been in decades or maybe ever in the company. And so what did they do in order to reward all of those people that worked their butts off to make the company successful? They took a whole bunch of them and cut their jobs from full-time to part-time with all of those profits. So what's that? That's a finite game, because now you've just crushed a whole bunch of people's spirits. Morale is going to drop. Those people are going to leave. And then the next year, you might not have those same results, because you're going to have a bunch of people going, well, it doesn't matter how hard I work. I'm just going to get my hours cut. Right? What's the most important thing? The people or money? Hey, we made 2% profit this year. Great. Our goal was 12. Oh, well, you failed. Well, you made 2% profit. And everybody's still working. And everybody's happy. And this is a company that brags about taking care of people. So that the leader of that organization is not playing an infinite game. They're all about number. They're all about this goal. They're all about that. Okay, so why do I think this is important? And if you've been following this series, you know why it's important. Who are the type of people that can handle infinite? Well, natural leaders. Right? Because natural leaders are comfortable with chaos. Hey, here's what's going on. Let me keep an eye on stuff. Oh, here's some changes. Here's that. Here's this. Hey, we got to have the same goal. We're going to try to keep the same thing going. All the parameters have changed. We got to make the same goal. Okay, plan. Whoa. That's a natural leader. So what do we talk about with the characteristics, the 4 pillars: humility, vigilance, integrity, empathy, and the talent? That person can handle infinity. Because it's simple. You can't make a plan for infinity. You can just make a philosophy. You can just make an approach. And so what you have to do is find the people that can do that. And what have we figured that out too, right? He doesn't talk about it, but, openness to experience, high in intellect, low in neuroticism, the things that we talked about from the personality. So that's the sort of person that you need to be able to play an infinite game. So he's on the journey, right? So he's there. He's seeing it. Each one of these builds on each other, and you read the reviews of them. I've read 2 of the 3. I have the 3rd one. I just haven't listened to it yet. I mean, I'm halfway through it, but I get it. And so what he's missing is there's a certain number of people that can do that. You watch some of his videos. He says the same stuff that I've talked about. You have lots of people in leadership, in authority positions that are not leaders. Okay, well, that's the problem. Anyway, so I want to discuss 3 topics or 3 things that stood out doing my research again. And like I said, I gave this guy a lot of credit because he is not walking around saying, I've got the answer. What bothers me is that during a lot of these interviews, nobody's like, let's keep going with that statement. Because he'll ask a question, Simon will answer it, and then the person just asks another question. It's like, analyze that. Anyway, here we go. Questions. So he makes a statement in one of his videos where he says, promoting the best. So you have somebody that's the best software engineer, and you train them and train them and train them and train them and train them. And they're the very best. And you say, okay, now we're going to put you in charge of software engineers. Put that person in charge. Well, we already know the answer to that. We've talked about it. We talked about it in the hierarchy or the competency. So that person is absolutely the best at being a software engineer. Why in the heck are we putting them in charge of people? Because now we're losing the best software engineer. And if they're really that good, they're probably not that good with people. And in one of his videos, he goes, we fail in our organizations because we do this. We take them, put them in charge, but we don't teach them how to be leaders. Are you sure? Because every organization I know is looking for a leadership program developer. Here we're going to take these people that are new to management and send them to leadership school. We're going to send them to management school. And they all go through all their management tracks and management training. And the leadership still is crap. And then he mentions, well, I know natural leaders the best leaders I know made the transition very easily. No, those are leaders. They were that in spite of their training. Right? They were already that. They probably weren't the best software engineer and got promoted because they could get the team to perform. And so the leaders that were naturally leaders rise to the top. So you got to think about it just a little bit different because, yes, that's the reason we have people in positions of authority that aren't good leaders, because we haven't assessed them on their leadership ability before putting them in that position. Like I said, no disrespect. I know I'm getting passionate, but it falls out so easy once you have the Rosetta Stone, once you have the Codex, whatever you want to call it. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm checking my notes over here. Okay, next question. Right, so we mentioned this up a little bit before. He states in one of his videos, or actually several of his videos, that taking care of your people will make you a great leader. Okay, so I have a theory about that. So if you remember, we've talked about this several times. So somebody who's got the natural talent combined with the characteristics, the good characteristics, humility, vigilance, integrity, empathy, and the personality to be a leader, you combine those three things, and that is going to be a good leader. You can have humility, vigilance, integrity, empathy. Remember the Taj Hotel. Every employee there has a great character. Not all of them are great leaders. So I was thinking about this and I figured out the right statement. If you take care of your people and you sort of give them a why, you're not going to be bad. You're not going to be great, but you're not going to be bad, which is good. That's better than most, right? So yes, you're eating last. Yes, you're having some humility. Yes, you've got integrity. Yes, you've got empathy. Fine. You still might not have the talent. It's like me. I consider myself a decent person. I still can't go conduct an orchestra. Right? So it's like a good character does not just make you a good leader. It makes you somebody to emulate. And that's not a bad example, but that's still not the same as somebody with the talent and the good character. Because you can have the talent and bad character, and we have horrific things, right? We have people with the leadership talent that have no humility, have no vigilance, have no integrity, have no empathy. And you can look at all of the worst examples throughout history of masses of people who were following this person and terrible things happened. So taking care of people is good, but it's not the entire thing. It's not the only thing. Right? And so once again, these are questions I wish that people would ask, but they don't. You know, they say, hey, tell us about the book. I got it. But, you know, there's more there. And he's not some megalomaniac that thinks he has all the answers. He's curious and wants to know. I saw an interview he did where one of the lines was, humility is not meekness. And I think he got that from somebody in the military. So he said, you can have somebody who's got this big, bombastic, super over the top personality, blah, blah, blah. Humility is the person that's over there cleaning the floors comes over and says, hey, I think I have a better way to clean the floors. And the leader goes, okay, tell me, what is it? Let's hear about it. I want to know. That's humility, right? I'm going to take the person that's over here doing this job, no matter what my ego is, and listen to him. I love that line. I thought it was great. Okay. So again, he hits on all of these points. I don't know that he sat down and put them all together, because he said them all. As you notice, we're going through this. So in one video, he says the most important thing is you have to practice empathy. And he gives a great example, just like we talked about. I've used the example a bunch of times. You know, you're walking around, the manager is walking around with the checklist. Okay, it's Empathy Wednesday. Let's see. So how are you have children? Okay, children. How are your children? Oh, well, you know, my son's got a little problem with his wisdom too. Okay, I'm being empathetic here. Just a second. How do you need anything here at work? Is everything okay? Well, I think that this AC vent right over my... Okay, hold on. I'm being empathetic. All right, so good. We've had empathy. I'm going to the next one. Right? But you've all seen it. I know you have. Or you have somebody comes over. What's going on? You know, I don't want to complain, boss, but this AC vent is killing me. Why? I want to wait for it to kick on. Oh, okay. 15 minutes later, you got the maintenance guy over there fixing the AC vent, blah, blah, blah. That person's delighted, right? I mean, empathy is remember what my version of empathy is, making everybody's job as easy as you can while still getting the job done, right? You still have to meet the goal. But most of the time, we impose a bunch of garbage on people and make their jobs miserable when they don't need to be. So anyway, empathy is the most important thing. Then he says the two things that leaders need are integrity and courage. Okay, so which is it? Well, it's all of them, right? So it's almost like he's landing on the idea, goes, this is what has to happen. Yeah, no, you need integrity and courage. Now, we could discuss, and of course I'm talking to a camera, we could discuss integrity and courage. If you have integrity and you vow that you're going to maintain your integrity, then courage automatically follows. But it does take courage to have integrity, because sometimes you got to tell the truth. I have a story I've told, and I'll tell it in another video, where a mistake happened. I was responsible for the unit that it happened with, but I had taken steps to make sure it didn't happen. Somebody disobeyed me. I'm standing in front of the big boss explaining why the accident happened. Boss blows my face up. I told the truth anyway, because I knew I was going to get destroyed. Next day, everything was sorted out. But standing there, it's my first big thing in front of the big boss. Never worked with him before. And my first interaction is to tell him that my unit goofed up. But I'm going to tell the truth, because if I get fired for being honest, that's okay. If I get fired because I lie, well, I deserved it, right? But, so, let's put all this together. And this is why I say that I think that Simon's on the journey. He just needs to stop and think for a minute. Not saying that he doesn't think. Like I said, I mean no disrespect. And he may never see this video. So, we've got the taking people at the top of the competence hierarchy and promoting them instead of promoting a leader, which we've talked about. Talks about taking care of people, all that sort of stuff. Correct. Integrity, empathy, yes. Vigilance, yes. Attuning competence and environment hierarchies in pursuit of a goal. Yes, that's start with why. So he's got it all. He just has got to put it together to realize that it's a certain person that can do that. It's not anybody, right? You can teach people to have humility. You can teach all that stuff. You can't teach the leadership talent. How do we discover that talent? I don't know. I'm still on the whole personality test plus observation plus some wisdom teaching. Like the leadership course, if I was going to make a leadership course, 90% of it would be reading books about leadership issues that happened in the past, so that you can learn from somebody else's mistakes and see what they did in that thing. And that's how you learn, not here's a checklist. Anyway, so I hope you enjoyed this video. I enjoyed it a lot. Like I said, I apologize for the no videos, but you can go watch all of them. And there's themes, you can find these, you go look for these things, and it's a lot of interviews about the books. I just don't see somebody sitting down and really asking, let's take this and run it down to the end of the road. So great stuff. Anyway, next page, I think. Yep. So as always, I'm not sponsored. Please go buy. These books are great to read because they're great. They make you think a lot about the leadership stuff. But it's still, I can eat last and still be a bad leader. Right? Okay. So that's all that I have for today. And I really appreciate if you've made it through this part of the video. I appreciate your time. And as always, please comment if you have questions, or if you'd be interested in an interview or a discussion, anything. I'm open for it. All right. Have a great day.